अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
सलाम।
लेट हो रहा है, जल्दी शुरू कर दें।
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So now the time is 4:30, so we can start our program. I request our moderator Fawaz to start the program.
Thank you, Mubin Saab. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this short discussion today. We'll try to keep the discussion in English as well as in Urdu, Hindi, so that everyone is comfortable. The discussion that we're having today is primarily, just before starting out, I would like to request everyone that to mute their own devices except for the speaker, so that there is no disturbance or there is no surround sound problem. Inshallah, everybody, welcome to this discussion around Islamophobia in India. And really what we are going to have a 1 hour discussion followed by a half-an-hour question answer session. And I would request all of you to, if you have any questions, to send them to me, and I will be asking the questions to the speaker. Now, before we start off, just for a small round of introduction, my name is Advocate Fawaz Shaheen, and I am a human rights advocate and researcher based in Delhi. I primarily work around issues of human rights and exclusion of minorities, and we work with institutional mechanisms, and we work on producing research and documents for policymakers and other such professionals. And we are very pleased to have for Hira Media from Mangalore for organizing this program. And we have an excellent speaker for our topic, Mr. Suhail KK, who is the director. Excuse me, can everyone listen to me? If there is any difficulties with the sound, please send me a message. And I would just request everyone to mute themselves so that there is no voice disturbance from anyone else. Now, continuing, our discussion today is around a very important topic which concerns all of us, around Islamophobia in India, particularly what we have seen in the last few years. And before diving into the current situation, before diving into what is happening right now, we need to understand that Islamophobia as a term is something that can be confusing, as well as it can be, for some people, it can also be divisive. Because the moment we use the term Islamophobia, there are a lot of people who turn back and say that this is in itself an exclusionary or a discrimination, or they say that you, because you are using this term, you yourself are biased. And there are a lot of people who actually, there is a phobia of using the term Islamophobia also. So around all of these very important issues, we'll be having a discussion today. Our main speaker is going to be Mr. Suhail KK, who is the director of Quill Foundation. Quill Foundation, some of you might know, is a research and advocacy center based in New Delhi. It's a think tank that works primarily on human rights issues and on issues of exclusion of minorities. And its main focus is on the criminal justice system, particularly around issues of terrorism and hate crimes in India. And it works to stage interventions with human rights institutions, and it also works to create policy documents and to engage with policymakers and people at an institutional level, whether it is the state or non-state actors in the policy-making sphere. And Suhail KK is the founder and director of Quill Foundation. He has a long history of activism and research around in this particular field that we are discussing today. He has also been a filmmaker, and we have seen in the last few years, as Islamophobic ideas have taken root in India, the kind of work that we have seen from Quill Foundation, Suhail KK, is actually very relevant and very important to understanding Islamophobia in India. Because even though Islamophobia as a term, as a word, is something that many people are afraid to use, many people are afraid to employ, The truth is that it is something that has reached a stage of maturity. The moment you say Islamophobia, it is already self-explanatory what you mean. So it is not just something which means a fear of Islam or a phobia of Islam. Islamophobia is something that clearly depicts any kind of discrimination against Muslims as an identity group or against Islam as a belief system. It may be in the form of discrimination, prejudice, exclusion, or outright violence. And we have seen in India in the last few years, with rising hate crimes, with rising incidents of Islamophobic violence, that direct incidents of Islamophobia have been on a rise. Islamophobic hate crimes have been on a rise. Similarly, we have seen, along with incidents of direct violence, we have also seen how the judiciary has often exhibited an attitude where Muslims or Muslim youth that have been brought before judicial processes are presumed to be guilty because of their religious identity or ideological affiliation. We have also seen, most importantly, in fact, probably most importantly, we have seen how Islamophobia has played out in popular culture. When you have movies like Padmavat, or you have movies like Panipat or Tanhaji, or you have these television shows that come on Hindi television channels all the time, the so-called historic periodic movies, essentially what do they portray? A key, and these are hugely high budget movies which are hugely successful box office hits. And what do they portray? They will always have a Muslim king as a villain, or a Muslim character, Muslim king, Muslim ruler as an invader, as someone who is a destroyer, as someone who is a scourge for women, and who is barbaric, who eats meat in barbaric ways, things like that. The imagery of Muslim rulers and Muslim kings that is constructed in this popular culture and popular movies is something that feeds into the Islamophobia, into it is something that has created actually an Islamophobia industry in India today. So we are living in a time where there are incidents of direct violence, there are incidents of systemic violence, and then there is an enabling atmosphere in popular culture and imagination, which is allowing people, which is making Islamophobic ideas acceptable to people everywhere else. And it is in this context that Hira Media has organized this wonderful program. I would like to thank all of our hosts for organizing this, and I welcome all of you to this program. As I said, we are going to be hearing from our main speaker, Suhail KK, the director of Quill Foundation now. And the format of this program is very simple. Our keynote speaker, Mr. Suhail KK, will have 1 hour to speak. And following that, we have allotted 30 minutes for a question and answer session. We'll try to finish this by 6 or 6:15 at the most. And if any of you have questions to ask, because this is a video conference, and if everybody is asking questions, it can become slightly chaotic. I would request all of you to send me a private message, or a message in the group, that is also fine, but preferably send me a private message. You can see my username is Fawaz. You can send me a private message with your question, and at the end of the discussion, at the end of Brother Suhail KK's talk, we will be asking him we will be asking him the questions that you're sending me. I'll try to ask as many questions as possible. So please try to keep them brief and to the point. And now, without further ado, without waiting around anymore, I would like to call on our keynote speaker, Mr. Suhail KK, Director of Quill Foundation, to address the gathering.
Thank you, Fawaz Bhai, and thank you, Hira Media. Thank you, Fawaz Bhai and Hira Media, for organizing this wonderful meeting. I can see a lot of good people whom I know personally, and also many people whom I don't know. Let me just welcome you all to this important discussion. Islamophobia. Islamophobia in India, how do we unplug it? As we all know, India is now the global epicenter of Islamophobia. the new foreign policy magazine, which is one of the most leading magazines which discuss on foreign policies and international affairs, FP. The ongoing this thing, just before this meeting, I was just going through the article. This month's article is about "From India, Islamophobia Goes Global." So this clearly says that India is now the epicenter of Islamophobia across the globe. So from India, Islamophobia goes global. This is what the title is. It is written by Stephen Zhou. So anti-Muslim sentiments, which used to be in the periphery, is now in the heart of the political establishment. That is what we see as of now. So that is exactly what is the pretext and the context to which we are now discussing this particular subject. At this particular historic juncture of coronavirus and the lockdown that is happening across the globe, in India, what happened was this corona was attributed towards Muslims and Islam. It was named as Corona Jihad, apart from the love jihad controversy, which happened in this same time, and land jihad. Land jihad controversy and conspiracy propaganda, which happened in the same time. Population jihad, the propaganda that those Muslims who donated plasma to the corona patients as part of the plasma treatment, it was named as plasma jihad. So everything that each and everything that Muslims does is actually named after jihad, and it is used to do hate mongering against this particular community. So the Tabligh fiasco, on the basis of which the Corona Jihad was the whole propaganda was created. Basically, this is a political project. Even the Tablighi Jamaat Corona Jihad fiasco is a political project. It is not an innocent anxiety, so to say. You can see that there were 2 people at least who were shot dead in this amidst this particular propaganda, and also 1 person was lynched. 1 Tablighi Jamaat person was lynched, and there were hundreds of news where villages where Tablighi Jamaat people are to be seen. They are attacked. They have been boycotted. Those people who wear kurta pajama and topi dadi, the image of a Tablighi Jamaat person, whoever has this particular identity and who does some kind of business, they are completely boycotted across North India. This is what we have seen in the last 2-3 months. So this has Islamophobia has reached to to heights, new heights in this particular corona epidemic times. So what happened was actually in India, when you see the Indian population, we can say that humans have been hacked through digital echo chambers. So we have seen mobile phones being hacked. We have seen laptops being hacked. We have seen computers hacked. But what we are seeing as of now in this new digital era is human minds are being hacked by using various techniques that even people who are victims of this hacking, they don't know that we have been hacked. So the reason being that these digital media and these digital apparatus that is there in front of us, they know about us rather than we knowing ourselves. So they know more than we know what we are. So at this particular time, when the corporations has more information about us than we have of ourselves, we tend to be hacked. They understand our emotions. They understand our choices. They know what choices we will make at particular junctures, and they can manipulate and misappropriate things so that they can drive us towards a particular direction. So apart from that, there is also to have huge institutions being built by the political party, the ruling party of our times. In India, BJP, they have their own what we say as the IT cell, which which is actually creating this kind of false news against communities. It is every day you can see thousands of news and information, not information, basically fake news being manufactured. So how do they create this is being fully explained in a book called, you must have read, most of you must have at least heard about it. It is called the book written by Swati Chaturvedi. The book's name is I'm a Troll. So it clearly mentions that how the name of the lady is Sadhvi Khosla, who was part of the IT cell, and how did they manufacture. She says in detail in 3 or 4 chapters with her testimonies. It clearly defines and explains what is IT cell all about and how they manufactures false news and fake news, and then create a kind of hysteria and hate against Muslims in India. So there are many Muslim community people whom I have personally met also, who believe that Islamophobia is because of the false acts of Muslim community itself. It is not only a political project, but there are problems within the community. I would like to say that we will come to that in detail, but Muslims do have problems. Every community does have a problem. But even if this community does something good, even things that you do things which is favorable to the society in general, which is something that contributes to the society or the nation, even that is picturized and have projected in a way that it is something which is conspiratorial in nature. Muslims tend to be conspiratorial in nature. This is the way that is being. This is basically a political project. Even if you do 100% good things, you will be portrayed as someone who is bad, who is doing something which is damageable to the society. So this is so to the Thomas Friedman, who is the New York Times columnist, well acclaimed columnist, who clearly says that Muslims are the. He says, I would just like to quote from his own speech, where he mentions that I am deeply aware of the deep strain of tolerance within Islam. I have said on numerous occasions that if all the Jews in the world had not gone to Europe, but instead had lived in the Ottoman Empire, there would be 6 million Jews alive today. I really believe that. He says that in multiple occasions that if in the early 20th century, when the Holocaust was going on, when Jews were being subjected to violence and discrimination and ethnic cleansing throughout Europe, if at that time they would have been in the Ottoman Empire or under the Muslim rule, there would have been 6 million extra Jews living in this world we live in. This is his statement according to Friedman. That means Muslims are in general people who are highly inclusive, and they have lots of things in general that appeals and convince the mass or general public. But this is as part of the political project that we see that this whole kind of labeling and prejudice is being created across the globe. So why does the government not act? Why is it that the government is not interested to address the issue is something that normally people think. And why is it that when you say about Islamophobia and when you say about human rights and things like that, why is it that the government and the Sangh Parivar and the ruling party and all these people are against you? Why don't they speak for you? The simple answer is that fox don't speak about hen's rights and hen protection. So these people are the primary beneficiaries of this hate mongering. I think most of you must have seen at least your kids watching an animation movie which is called Zootopia, Zootopia. I have recently watched it when my kids were watching. Zootopia is a very wonderful Disney feature film animation cartoon, which is just a normal 1.5 to 2 hours movie, cartoon animation movie, where you can see that anthropomorphic you have mammals who are living in a country which has the features of human being. They speak like human being, they act like human being, and they have all the common sense of human being, and they act like human being, and they have a country, a state which has been built with a clear constitution and a clear law, which is under a clear framework and things like that. And it is going smoothly. No one hunts each other, no one kills anyone. But all of a sudden, there is a propaganda in the media. Media is also being run by the same species, the animals. There is a rat. There is a rat city where you have mouse and rats only goes, and things like that. So it's very interesting. The whole city and the country is something that is very interesting. All of a sudden, inside the media, they see that those mammals which have canine teeth, who hunts normally, who are carnivorous, they are returning to their instincts of hunting and attacking the other animals. They are returning to their basic instincts. This sort of media propaganda starts to emerge in various news channels, and they show certain video images, which is basically establishes this particular propaganda. There is a rabbit, which is basically the key character in this whole animation movie. This rabbit bunny, basically, it's a lady rabbit. It's a lady officer. What she does is she does an investigation of what happened after all. What is that that one thing that had sabotaged the entire peaceful mahol, the atmosphere of that particular country. And then after a detailed investigation, what she found out was there is a sheep who is the mayor of that particular city. What she did was she discovered a serum, basically a serum, which is normally loaded in a gun. And then if it is fired on an animal, if it is a carnivorous or omnivorous or any kind, herbivorous or whatever, if you fire this serum at it, it will change its nature. It will start to be violent. It will start to attack others. So this is this particular serum. What she did was she fired this on particular mammals which she chose to fire. So she wants to create an atmosphere inside her country that 85% people are actually peaceful, but 15% of the people are actually violent. And this 15% is basically carnivorous. And this carnivorous is turning against the herbivorous people who are normally peaceful. So we need to teach them a lesson. We need to suppress them, oppress them. So this is the message that this particular sheep is giving to the entire country. So this Zootopia is actually the clear resemblance of what we are seeing in our country as of now and the world as of now. How to create 85% or majority permanent vote bank on the basis of the hate towards some minority. So why do they hate us? I'll tell you in detail. As far as Islamophobia in India is concerned, I'll tell you in detail why do they hate us, and how is Islamophobia manifested. I'll tell you in detail. How is Islamophobia manifested? There are two types. If you just divide it or classify it into two, or the whole Islamophobic affair. One is interpersonal Islamophobic acts, and number two are structural, which is basically policies related to the state. So as far as the interpersonal or everyday Islamophobia is concerned, you can see hundreds of cases where Muslim youths, when they go to jobs, they are not selected for their jobs, even though they reach their final scrutiny of their interview. At the final stage, even if they complete all the phases, they will be rejected because just of the reason saying that we don't accept non-Muslims. You can find reports of that sort where it clearly mentions that we don't accept non-Muslims. Residential apartments. they say clearly that we don't accept non-Muslims. Even now, in this pandemic time, one of the Twitter hashtags that came out was boycott halal. Basically, it is saying to boycott all Muslim products and Muslim traders and shopkeepers. The hashtag is boycott halal. There is attacks on mosques. There is hate crimes against individuals, Muslim candidates if they are nominated for elections or as representatives of parties. Just because of the reason that they belong to this particular community, no one votes for them, and so what happens is that even secular parties don't have they don't appoint Muslim basically candidates for elections. So this is all everyday Islamophobia that we see. If you ask a small kid who is studying for LKG or kindergarten or primary level schooling or college whatsoever, students, if you ask them what is your experience on Islamophobia, they can elaborate about their own everyday Islamophobia that they are facing from the time they step out of their house till they come back from their schools or colleges. So be it a boy or a girl, or be it a woman or a man, whoever, be it a man or a woman who has Muslim symbols, or even if they don't have Muslim symbols, how even names are being used to identify and then subjugate people. Today, I just retweeted a tweet which is very interesting. This is basically, this clearly says about what is a state of Islamophobia in India. This entry says that, I'll just read it out. I hope this is something, this experience, I really think that this is something that every day, even our kids are facing on a day-to-day affairs, on a day-to-day life. Rana Safvi, she's a girl. She tweets, she says, I too no longer eat non-veg on trains or even get home delivery or non-veg at home for fear of mistaken identity. I don't say salam in public transport. And I feel increasingly that my glorious multi-plural identity is being reduced to that of being a Muslim. So this is the reality of the present India that we live in. Earlier, we used to pray in the train when we are traveling and it is time for namaz. We used to do ablution from the bathroom or from the windows or from the door, and then we go and pray, either by sitting on the seat or at standing if there are no people. But now we can't even think about praying in the train. You may get lynched. This is what the present state of affairs is about. You can find hundreds of cases related to Islamophobic violence in dotodatabase.com. I would like to just mention this particular URL, which you should just write it down and then you can refer it at the later stage. It is called DOTO, which stands for Documentation of the Oppressed, DOTO database.com. And just use the advanced search facility and just use those filters to get Islamophobic violence in general. So this database actually records all targeted violence based on religious identities, whichever religion is being targeted. It's majorly those religions which is minority, which is mentioned as minority in our Indian system. So how do you define Islamophobia? This is very important question. I would like to just read out two definitions, which I think this is relevant across the globe, and this is something which is not related to. So mostly people say that Islamophobia is a European concept. No, it is not a concept. First of all, Islamophobia is racism. It is a racist attitude of the system and individuals on a particular society. It is basically racism. And what is racism? How do you? Some people say that this is not racism. This is racism. I'll tell you in detail what is racism. So how do you define Islamophobia? The Renimede Foundation, which is one of the leading researchers on Islamophobia worldwide, based in London. It defines Islamophobia in just 3 words. Islamophobia is anti-Muslim racism. That's it. Islamophobia is anti-Muslim racism. There is a longer definition to this, which I don't want to read it as of now because of the length and the short of time. Number 2 is a definition which is given by the All-Party Parliamentary Group of Britain, which says Islamophobia is rooted in racism and a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. It's very clear. Once again, Islamophobia is rooted in racism and a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. So this is what Islamophobia is. It's not only about attacking Muslims. It is also about attacking Muslimness, attacking on the basis of mistaken identity. You can find a report which says that there is a Hindu boy. His name is Suhail. He was returning to his home after a birthday party of his friend. While on his way back, one person in a colony where he was crossing while walking, he caught him, and he was not Sahil, but he caught another person. Sahil was trying to stop that particular violence. So a friend of Sahil, he called Sahil's name. Sahil, let's go, come. So this particular person who was beating another person, he heard that this person is named Sahil. So this is a Muslim. So he caught him and then he beat him in a way that he got killed at that particular point itself. And after this incident, the newspaper reports says that the mother of Sahil was crying in front of the camera saying that my boy would have not been killed if his name was not Sahil. They had a mistaken identity. They thought this is actually a Muslim. So only on the basis that this person is doubted of, a person is doubted of his Muslimness. He is not a Muslim, but there is a mistaken identity on the basis of his name or his color or his appearance. Then you have this particular violence. Lots of violence have happened against Sikhs because Sikhs, the community has turbans around their head. Most people who are in the West, they are not able to differentiate between the turban of the Sikhs and the turbans of the Muslims. So they think that this is a Muslim just by seeing that the beard and the turban. There are hundreds of incidents where they have been attacked. Sikh people have been attacked in Europe. So all these are basically Islamophobia. And Islamophobia is actually racism. So why is it racism? Because racism is not related to ethnicity. It is not always ethnic. Basically, racism is you have identity markers identify your race. So what is race? Race can be color. For instance, Ireland and US, color is racism. In South Africa, color is racism. Religion is racism. Anti-Semitism is basically anti-Jewish. Anti-Jewish discrimination and violence. So this is called as anti-Semitism. So anti-Semitism is not out of the racism spectrum. This is one of the most important and one of the most discussed racism that we see in the history that we live in. So racism in India, it is caste system. Caste system is another racism. So caste is another identity marker. So religion is an identity marker. And if you target this particular identity, then that is racism. That is what academics say about it. I have a lot of quotations to read about that. I don't think we have to explain it any further. And people also say that is it phobia? The attacks on Muslims, phobia is fear. So how is this fear? So this is actually irrational fear against Muslims, of course. If you just delve into it, if you just dig into it, you can understand this is basically a fear. Fear is what is being used to polarize people. Fear, as you know, fear is that one single thing that is used by the autocratic regimes across the globe and also in the history. Actually, Nazi party used fear against Jews as the pretext to do the ethnic cleansing against them and polarize people in favor of Hitler and Nazi party. So this is basically fear for sure. But people ask that Islamophobia, the word says Islamophobia, so it is fear against Islam. It is not fear against Islam, it's actually fear on Muslims and things and so on and so forth. So people says in this way, I don't think that is logical, because you should not go into the literal sense of it. For instance, if you say homophobia, homophobia is normally the word which is used against those people who don't subscribe to the idea of the progressive gender discourse. People who don't agree to lesbian, gay sexual identities. It is said as homophobia. It is not actually, if you go into the linguistic part of it, it is not phobia against home. It is not homophobia, or it is not phobia against homosexuality. There is no fear against homosexuality as such. So the word is something that is, and also another example can be anti-Semitism. If you go into the word meaning of anti-Semitism, Semitic is all Christian, all those religion which has its roots in the Semitic part, in that part of the globe, be it Christianity, be it Judaism, be it Islam. All these are Semitic religions. So that is what it is marked as. So if you say anti-Semitism, it should mean by word that this is anti-Islam or anti-Christianity. No, anti-Semitism has been used, and it is used to denote a particular crime, and that is discrimination and violence against Jews in specific. So the word meaning is actually given by us. It is given by usage. It is actually established by usage. So Islamophobia, the word is established by usage, that this is a crime against or discrimination against Muslims and the perceived Muslimness. So this is basically racism. So there are a lot of things to be discussed about this particular thing, but I would also just mention the content of Islamophobia in India. How do you define Islamophobia in India? What do you mean by Islamophobia, and what is the constituents of hate in India when we say Islamophobia in India? Number one is when you say Islamophobia in India, why do they hate us? People normally ask, why do they hate us? So that also is what the constituent of Islamophobia in India. I would like to mention that after going through hundreds of thousands of hate-mongering groups in Facebook and Twitter, and also inside the mainstream media comment boxes, after reading all these discourses for a long time, I have categorized it into 5 different points. So there are 5 different points on the basis of which Muslims and Islam is hated in India. Number 1, you can note it down for further reference, and then you can elaborate this point. Whatever things which is apart from these points, I think that this is only the sub points to these particular 5 main points. Number 1 is they think that Islam and Muslims are anti-Hindu. They believe that Muslims are anti-Hindu. They believe that Muslims are basically they believe that Muslims believe Hindus are kafirs, and they are fit to be killed, or they can be. They think that they believe that Hindus cannot be liked, at least, and also reservation politics is part of this anti-Hindu agenda. The killing of cows is part of this anti-Hindu agenda. The movement against Ram Mandir, or not allowing them to build a Babri Ram Mandir on the Babri Masjid location site, is basically anti-Hindu approach, is part of the anti-Hindu approach of Muslims. The Pandit exodus in Kashmir is also जो है a propaganda which is related to the anti-Hindu propaganda. So one thing is Muslims are basically anti-Hindu. This is what they believe, and there are lots of incidences, proofs, evidences that they say that they would mention to establish that you are against Hindus. Number two, when you say जो है Islamophobia, and the source of Islamophobia is that they believe Islam and Muslims are basically inherently violent. They believe that you are not only violence, you are the mother of all evils. You eat non-veg, you are dirty. You go to the Muslim slums, Muslim ghettos, you can find dirty all around. So basically, you are mother of all evils. You are violent. Violence is in the gene of Islam and Muslims. You are bad people. जो है काट दिया जाएगा, मार दिया जाएगा आपको वहां जब जाएगा. तो इस तरीके का जो है mindset, you can understand what the feeling is. Islamic terrorism is a big propaganda which is used to establish this particular notion. Oppression of women means basically violence against women and things like that. So lots of things around the thing that the propaganda that Muslims are basically violent. Number three is that Muslims have no love towards the nation. They are traitors. गद्दार है ये लोग. तो ये लोग बाहर के लोग हैं. ये लोग जो है बाहर से आए हुए हैं, यहाँ के लोग नहीं हैं. ये लोग नेशनलिस्टिक नहीं है. इंडिया को ये लोग पसंद नहीं करते हैं. ये लोग इसीलिए वंदे मातरम नहीं कहते हैं. तो इस तरीके का पूरा जो है एक प्रोपेगेंडा आप देख सकते हैं जो है ट्रेटर्स के नाम से. और इवन जब फुटबॉल होते हैं, जब मतलब इवन जब क्रिकेट होते हैं, तो इंडिया और पाकिस्तान के बीच जब मैच होगा तो मुसलमान, पूरा इंडिया के मुसलमान पाकिस्तान को सपोर्ट करेगा. तो इस तरीके का बहुत ही इरेशनल जो है चीजें हैं जो बेसिकली ये एस्टैब्लिश करने के लिए कि मुसलमान ट्रेटर्स है, ये लोग गद्दार है. चौथा ये है कि पॉपुलेशन एंजाइटी, कि मुसलमान के जो है पॉपुलेशन इतना तेजी के साथ बढ़ रहा है. उनका हाई फर्टिलिटी रेट है कि 2000 पहले हमारे बचपन में ये बताते थे कि 2020-2025 तक मुसलमान पूरा जो है इंडिया को कब्जा करेगा. अभी तो वो अभी थोड़ा और जो है एक्सटेंड किया है उसको अभी बोलते हैं कि 2045. बहुत प्रिसाइज है, बहुत ही जो है बहुत ही एक्यूरेट ईयर है 2045. ये बोलते हैं कि पूरा मुसलमान इंडिया को जो है पकड़ लेगा, उसके ऊपर उसको सबोटेज करेगा, उसको जो है डोमिनेंस, इनका डोमिनेंस में आ जाएगा. तो पॉपुलेशन एंजाइटी, ये पॉपुलेशन एंजाइटी के अंदर ही लव जिहाद का प्रोपेगेंडा आते हैं. उसी के अंदर कन्वर्जन का प्रॉब्लम आता है. हिप्नोटाइजिंग, इनको मुसलमान को हिप्नोटाइजिंग पावर है. आप उनके साथ रहेंगे तो फिर वो आपका ब्रेन वॉश हो जाएगा, मुसलमान हो जाएगा, कन्वर्ट हो जाएगा. मतलब इतना ज्यादा फैंटेसीज है इसके अंदर, पॉपुलेशन एंजाइटी के अंदर, कि कैसे मुसलमान टेक ओवर करेगा इंडिया को. तो ये है फोर्थ प्रोपेगेंडा. और फिफ्थ प्रोपेगेंडा है कि मुगल हिस्ट्री, जिसमें जो है ये बताते हैं कि मुगल पीरियड्स में पूरा मुसलमान जो है इंडिया को लूटपाट किया है. मुस्लिम रूलर्स जो है 500 इयर्स जो है बहुत पुराने जो है एक हिस्ट्री में कोई आदमी अगर कोई गलत किया है, अगर वो मुसलमान है तो पूरा मुसलमान किया, मतलब वो जमाने का मुसलमान सिर्फ नहीं, सिर्फ वो जो है किंग नहीं, उस जमाने का पूरा मुसलमान और उसके बाद का पूरा मुसलमान. जैसा कि जो है जो बाइबल के जो सिन के जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, वैसा ही जो फर्स्ट सिन के जो क्या कॉन्सेप्ट है. अगर औरंगजेब ने कुछ गलती किया है तो हैदराबाद में जो आज रह रहा है, या तो फिर कन्नूर केरला के अंदर जो रह रहा है एक जो है झोपड़ी के अंदर, वो आदमी भी रिस्पॉन्सिबल है औरंगजेब का जो है गलती का. औरंगजेब गलती किया है या नहीं वो दूसरा डिबेट है. तो ये जो है इस तरीके का जनरलाइजेशन, मास और ग्रॉस जनरलाइजेशन करके जो है मुगल हिस्ट्री का रिवेंज लेने का टाइम अभी है बोल के जो प्रोपेगेंडा. ये 5 चीज है बुनियादी तौर पर इंडिया के अंदर इस्लामोफोबिया फैलाने में ये लोग सहारा लिया है. तो इसका जो इसको तफसील से मैं अभी जो है बोलना नहीं चाहूँगा, मैं अभी ख़त्म करके बाद में इसके बाद हम आपस में गुफ्तगू करेंगे। इसका सोल्यूशन क्या है मैं बोलना चाहूँगा, 4 स्टेप सोल्यूशन है। नंबर 1 है डिफाइनिंग इस्लामोफोबिया। इस्लामोफोबिया का सोल्यूशन क्या है? नंबर 1 यू डिफाइन इस्लामोफोबिया। Number 2, documentation of Islamophobia, which will be basically systemic and structured recording and documentation of all जो है different manifestations of Islamophobia. आप document करेंगे, systemic structured recording करेंगे, ये second जो है काम है। और नंबर 3 है deconstructing जो है Islamophobic narratives। आप जो है बुनियादी तौर पर आप जो है मौजूदा जो इस्लामोफोबिक नैरेटिव्स मैंने आपको बताया था कि अभी ये जो 5 अलग अलग टॉपिक्स, वो टॉपिक्स के अंदर जो भी प्रोपेगेंडा चल रहा है, ये प्रोपेगेंडा के बारे में तफसील से उसको पढ़ना और उसको रिफ्यूट करने का जो जो जिम्मेदारी है वो मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के ऊपर प्राइमरली है। उसका तफसीलात क्या है, उसका हकीकत क्या है, इसको लोगों को समझाने का जो जिम्मेदारी है, this responsibility lies primarily on the Muslim community and the scholars within the Muslim community। ये मैं बोलना चाहूँगा क्योंकि मेरा जो स्पेक्टेटर्स है, मैं उसमें बहुत बड़े तादाद, मेरा ख्याल में 99% मुसलमान ही होंगे। तो बड़ा जिम्मेदारी हमारे ऊपर है कि कैसे हम इसको जो है हकीकत लोगों तक पहुँचाने का पूरा जो है मैकेनिज्म हम कैसे डेवलप करें। नंबर 4 है रिकंस्ट्रक्टिंग न्यू पॉजिटिव एंड रियलिस्टिक नैरेटिव्स अराउंड मुस्लिम्स। उसके लिए हम कोशिश करना। तो मालूम है आपको, सब लोगों को मालूम है कि जो कोरोना पेंडेमिक के लॉकडाउन के बीच में जो मुस्लिम जो है सिविल सोसाइटी, मुस्लिम ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, मुस्लिम इंडिविजुअल्स, उनके जो वॉलंटरी सोशल वर्क है, जो अपने आप के जिंदगी को खतरे में डाल के उन लोगों ने जो किया है, वो अक्रॉस मीडिया उसको रिपोर्ट किया था, कैसे मुसलमान और जो है मुस्लिम इंस्टीट्यूशंस इसमें काम किया वगैरह वगैरह। मैं स्पेसिफिकली मुस्लिम के बारे में इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ क्योंकि हमारा टॉपिक इस्लामोफोबिया है। तो इसमें आप देख सकते हैं इवन मसाजिद जो है, मस्जिदों को भी कन्वर्ट किया गया जो है क्वारंटाइन सेंटर के तौर पर, मस्जिदों को ट्रीटमेंट सेंटर बना दिया। इस तरीके से इस्लाम और मुसलमान के रिलेटेड इंस्टीट्यूशंस को और इंडिविजुअल्स को ही वो चीज कर सकते हैं, कैसे हमारे बारे में पॉजिटिव एंड रियलिस्टिक नैरेटिव्स को बिल्ड, मतलब वो बिल्ड करने के लिए नहीं है ये अच्छाई करना, मतलब ये जो अच्छाई कर रहा है वो एक अच्छा पॉजिटिव इमेज बिल्ड करने के हिडन एजेंडा के साथ नहीं है। बेसिकली हम जो कर रहा है वो लोगों के सामने दिखाना भी चाहिए, देखिए ये कर रहा है, ताकि दूसरे, जैसा कि सूरत अल-बकरा में कुरान में बताया गया कि आप जो कुछ अच्छा चीज कर रहा है वो लोगों तक अगर इस नियत के साथ आप अगर पहुंचा रहा है कि लोगों को इंस्पायर करने के लिए, दूसरे लोगों को भी उस रास्ते में लेके आने के लिए, मोटिवेट करने के लिए, तो फिर वो जायज है और वो करने का जरूरत है। तो उसको पब्लिसाइज करना है, जो है आपको उसको लोगों तक पहुंचाने का काम करना है। बेसिकली रिकंस्ट्रक्टिंग न्यू पॉजिटिव एंड रियलिस्टिक नैरेटिव्स अराउंड मुस्लिम्स, ये करने का कोशिश करना है। तो फेस बाय फेस काम हमें करना है। बेसिकली फेज 1, फेज 2, फेज 3, इस तरीके से एक स्ट्रेटेजिक इंटरवेंशन का जरूरत है। कैसे गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज के अंदर हम जो है इसको एड्रेस करते हुए हम क्या कर सकते हैं। मीडिया में जो इस्लामोफोबिक जो कंटेंट्स नहीं आने के लिए, उसको रोकने के लिए हमें क्या करना चाहिए। और उसके अलावा जो है हेट स्पीचेस जो इंडिविजुअल्स देते हैं, पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के और अदरवाइज, वो लोग ये करते वक्त उसको रोकने का क्या क्या लॉ मौजूद है, ऑलरेडी मौजूद है, उसको कैसे इस्तेमाल करना है। ये सब चीज को लेते हुए फेस बाय फेस, स्टेज बाय स्टेज एक जो है एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव प्लान के बगैर कभी भी ये प्रॉब्लम हम सॉल्व नहीं कर सकता। आप मालूम है कि 20th सेंचुरी के अर्ली 20th सेंचुरी में मेरे ख्याल में 1915 से लेकर शुरू है 1945 तक, तकरीबन 30 साल पूरा यूरोप में एंटी जूइश सेंटिमेंट्स मौजूद था, अभी भी मौजूद है, मतलब उस वक्त भी मौजूद, अभी भी थोड़ा और बड़ा मौजूद है। ये बेसिकली रेसिज्म है। ये रेसिस्ट फीलिंग जब वहां पर भरे तो जूइश लोगों ने क्या किया, उन्होंने किया ये कि हर छोटे बड़े इंसिडेंट्स जो होते हैं उनको एक्ट्स ऑफ वायलेंस या एक्ट्स ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, उसको उन्होंने जो है पूरा तरीके से उसको उन्होंने डॉक्यूमेंट किया। और वो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन करने के बाद आपको मालूम है हॉलोकॉस्ट हुआ। हॉलोकॉस्ट इतना जबरदस्त अंदाज में उन्होंने मोनेटाइज किया उसको यूज किया या उसको लोगों तक पहुंचाया, फैलाया कि आज भी गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज जो है ये हॉलोकॉस्ट इंसिडेंट्स के आतराफ में घूमते हैं। आपको मालूम है, अगर आज यूरोप में जाके आप बोलेंगे कि हॉलोकॉस्ट नहीं हुआ था, ये सब फेक है, तो आपको जेल में डाल दिया जाएगा, आपको जो है नॉन बेलेबल ऑफेंस में जेल में डाल दिया जाएगा, क्योंकि ये एक आर्टिकल ऑफ फेथ है कि यहाँ पर जूइश प्रोसिक्यूशन हुआ। जूइश जो वर्क है, आप अगर देखेंगे 1945 के बाद जब न्यूरमबर्ग ट्रायल हुआ था, आपको मालूम है जूइश एनिहिलेशन के लिए, जूइश मार्जिनलाइजेशन के लिए, स्ट्रक्चरल मार्जिनलाइजेशन के लिए उन्होंने लॉ बनाया था, जैसा कि सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट एक्ट इंडिया में बनाते हैं या एनआरसी के बारे में डिस्कशन चल रहा है। इस तरीके का लॉ, जैसा कि जो है आपको मालूम है, इसी प्रिटेक्स्ट में रिसेंट पास में 1981 में जो पास हुआ था म्यांमार में रोहिंग्या के खिलाफ, जो है बेसिकली वहां के सिटीजनशिप, ये उस प्रिटेक्स्ट में है। उसी प्रिटेक्स्ट में वहां पर जो है न्यूरमबर्ग एक्ट था। तो न्यूरमबर्ग एक्ट वो चीज है जिसके जरिए से उन्होंने जो भी किया है, जो भी उन्होंने एट्रोसिटीज किया है वो कम्युनिटी के खिलाफ, वो सब लॉफुल है, क्योंकि लॉ मौजूद है वो करने के लिए। तो वो एक एक्ट ऑफ वायलेंस करने के लिए पहले उन्होंने क्या किया, एक लॉ बनाया, वो करने का पूरा इजाजत देते हुए, उसका पूरा लेजिटिमेसी मिलने के लिए, फिर उसके बाद उन्होंने पूरा एक्ट किया। तो बेसिकली एक नियम बनाया था। तो ये सब चीज को लेके जो है न्यूरमबर्ग ट्रायल में पूरा तरीके से उसका जो है ऑटोप्सी हुआ, उसका पोस्टमार्टम हुआ, और उसके बाद जो है बहुत सारे जो है न्यूरमबर्ग ट्रायल एक फिल्म ही आप उसको देखना है, क्या है न्यूरमबर्ग ट्रायल, डिटेल्स आप देखिएगा, बहुत हैरत अंगेज अंदाज में उसमें दिखाया है। उसके एक स्टेज में जूइश ज़ायनिस्ट लॉबी जो है 5000 से ज्यादा टन्स ऑफ मटेरियल्स डंप किया था कोर्ट के सामने, ये दिखाने के लिए कि देखिए वी हैव बीन परसिक्यूटेड नॉट ओनली इन यूरोप बट अक्रॉस द ग्लोब, ये दिखाने के लिए, वो जो है लोगों के सामने समझाने के लिए। फिर जो है मालूम है न्यूरमबर्ग ट्रायल के बाद ये तय हुआ कि जो है एंटी सेमिटिसिज्म लॉज विल बी पास्ड in order to make sure that this particular crime doesn't repeat again। इसके लिए जो है उन्होंने उसको पूरा डिटर करने के लिए, उसको पूरा स्टॉप करने के लिए उन्होंने पूरा एक लॉ फ्रेमवर्क बनाया। आपको मालूम है अमेरिकन कॉन्टिनेंट्स में और यूरोप में जो है बहुत अलग अलग कंट्रीज में ये नाफिज किया गया। इसी प्रिटेक्स्ट में इंडिया के अंदर आप मालूम है 5000 ईयर्स से ज्यादा जो दलित आदिवासी जो स्पेशली दलित्स के ऊपर जो एट्रोसिटीज है, SC STs के ऊपर जो एट्रोसिटीज है, उसके ऊपर तफसील से एक लॉ, एक नहीं बल्कि 4 लॉज बनाए गए इंडिया के अंदर जो एड्रेस करते हैं जो है SC STs, यहाँ के दलित आदिवासियों के ऊपर जो एट्रोसिटीज है, जो 5000 साल से चलते आ रहा है, उसको रोकने के लिए, उसको एड्रेस करने के लिए खास जो है नियम बना दिया गया, जो है वो कर्ब करने के लिए। उसी तरीके से, उसी तर्ज में आप जरूर पूछ सकते हैं, we as Muslims who face the brunt of this injustice, हम आज ये पूछना चाहिए, एक मास अप्रेजल होना चाहिए, ये बोल के कि we need a law to curb this violence, this racism that we are facing on a day-to-day life। जो है हमें एंटी इस्लामोफोबिया लॉ चाहिए। ये जो मांग है वो मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी की तरफ से, और जो है मैं बोलना चाहूंगा कि जो है we need not be Muslims to fight against this racism। इस्लामोफोबिया के खिलाफ लड़ने के लिए एक मुसलमान होने का जरूरत नहीं है। जूइश परसिक्यूशन को रोकने के लिए, काम करने के लिए एक जू होने का जरूरत नहीं है। इंसानियत में विश्वास करने वाला कोई भी आदमी उसको रोकने के लिए काम करना चाहिए। SC STs के ऊपर एट्रोसिटीज नहीं होना चाहिए बोलने के लिए। SC STs अकेला आना नहीं है, वो यहाँ के अंदर, यहाँ ये समाज के अंदर जो भी इंसानियत में विश्वास करते हैं, सब लोग मिल करके ये लड़ाई को आगे बढ़ना है। तब जाके जो है हम बोल सकते हैं कि ह्यूमैनिटी हैज ओवरटेकन दिस रेसिज्म एंड दिस पर्टिकुलर डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी प्रैक्टिसेस। तो बेसिकली इसी जो है चीज को सामने रखते हुए मैं खत्म करना चाहूंगा। अभी आपका टाइम है, इन डिटेल मैं आपसे सुनना चाहूंगा। अगर कोई सवाल है तो जरूर पूछ सकते हैं। उसके अंदर कोई भी और एडिशंस है और कोई एडिशंस भी है वो भी आप बोल सकते हैं तफसील से। मैं माइक हैंड ओवर करूंगा फवाज भाई को। शुक्रिया, थैंक यू।
Jazakallah. Thank you, Suhail bhai. That was a very, very informative and a very erudite conversation. Thank you for that. हम सबके लिए ये बहुत enlightening था और एक मतलब इसमें हमने बहुत सारे बातें की लेकिन आप लोगों ने ये प्रोग्राम आज होस्ट किया है और यकीनन जब आपने इस्लामोफोबिया इन इंडिया का टॉपिक चुना होगा तो कई लोगों ने इसको क्रिटिसाइज भी किया होगा ऑनलाइन इसके ऊपर बहुत सारे कमेंट्स आए होंगे इस पे कुछ डिबेट हुई होगी that is something which come whenever you use the term Islamophobia. These are the kinds of debates that come up, and I think Brother Suhail KK very ably demonstrated why this is a term which should be used. And I would just like to add that in academic circles, it is now almost a consensus to say that Islamophobia as a concept has come of age. What does that mean? That doesn't mean there are no debates around Islamophobia. That doesn't mean there is no controversy around using the term. What it means is that the term itself is sufficient as an organizing principle for research, for academics, and for other activities. So, अगर उसको हम आम अल्फाज में बिल्कुल समझने की कोशिश करें तो इस्लामोफोबिया लफ्ज का जब हम इस्तेमाल करते हैं तो बहुत क्लियरली हम एक फिनोमिना की बात कर रहे हैं जो हम कह रहे हैं उसको आसानी से समझा जा सकता है व्हेन वी से इस्लामोफोबिया वी मीन मतलब उसके ऊपर डिबेट्स हैं यस अंडरस्टैंडिंग में गैप है बहुत सारा काम होने की खास करके इंडिया के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में वी रियली हैव अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क टू डू and organizations like Quill Foundation have a lot of work to do to increase our understanding of what Islamophobia is. But at a very basic level, we can say that discrimination and discriminatory or prejudicial systems and practices against Muslims or the Islamic belief system can easily be identified and categorized as Islamophobia. और ये आई थिंक ब्रदर सुहेल केके के पूरे डिस्कशन में ये बहुत अच्छी क्लैरिटी हम लोगों को इस पूरे कॉन्सेप्ट के बारे में मिली है तो आई रियली थैंक हिम फॉर दैट और उसके बाद हमारे बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं कई लोगों ने अलग अलग वेरिएंट पूछा है एक सवाल का कि वेदर दिस पैटर्न ऑफ इस्लामोफोबिया इज कॉमन टू ऑल स्टेट्स और रिस्ट्रिक्टेड टू सर्टेन स्टेट्स एंड इसी तरह से किसी ने पूछा वेदर इट इज मोर prevalent in North Indian states than South Indian states. I think just before going to Brother Suhail KK, I would just like to mention this is an excellent opportunity for all of you to use the database that Brother Suhail was talking about, dotodatabase.com. In fact, if you don't mind, I will just take 1 minute and I will share my screen and I will show you the database that Brother Suhail was talking about. If you see this dotodatabase.com, if you want to understand where Islamophobic hate crimes are happening, this is an excellent place to start actually. You can see this is the home page of Doto database. This tells you that in the last 6 years, these are hate crimes against all religious minorities to begin with, not just Muslims. You can see there have been 1,128 incidents ever since BJP came to power in the last 6 years. 1,128 incidents and 22,628 victims of hate crimes in India. And if you want to find out how many Muslims were victims of this violence, basically, if you want to look at Islamophobic hate crimes, then you should go to the advanced search option. In the advanced search option, you can select religious background of the victims as Muslims, and you can click on the search button. This will give you all the cases of hate crimes which have happened against Muslims in the last 6 years. And the total number, I'll just try to show you the number, comes to 864 incidents. If you see, 864 incidents in the last 6 years. And if you just do a quick calculation, this comes to one case of hate crime against a Muslim every 2.5 days, which means in every 2.5 days, at least one incident of Islamophobic hate violence takes place in India. Every third day in India, at least one incident of Islamophobic hate violence takes place. And these are reported incidents. We know that the number of unreported incidents might be much higher. So just to elaborate the intensity of the problem, this database is very useful, and we have shared the link in the chat. I would urge everybody to go and check out this database, which is being run by Quill Foundation. And over to Suhail KK to answer this question, whether it is more intense in some states or other states.
Yes, thank you, Fawaz Bhai, for that detailed introduction of DOTO database, and also that clearly mentions, I think the answer lies in the DOTO database itself. If you just use the advanced search option, and if you can just filter the whole database on only those incidences where Muslims have been the victims, you can find the spectrum, the wide spectrum of discrimination and violence against Muslims, only on the basis of their Muslimness or Muslim identity or whatever. So if you see, I have not seen the database in this particular angle. If you can do it by yourself, I think you can get the answer. Naturally, but natural, the minimum common sense that we have. If you just see you use the yardstick of
Hello. I think we have.
Am
Yes,
I audible?
yes, yes. You're audible now. Please go ahead.
Yes, I was saying that just use one yardstick of the incidences of lynching which happened in India in the last 7 years. There were more than 100 incidences of lynching where the victim have been killed, not mere physical attack. The person have been killed. So if you just take the list of these particular incidences, you can find almost all of them, or the predominant majority of those incidences had taken place in the northern part of India. So you can have a detailed look through DOTO database. And I would like to inform you all that we have started the documentation. We are going to start an Islamophobia project, which is basically addressing this particular issue. So there will be a detailed documentation of Islamophobic incidences, especially Islamophobic incidences in this particular website. You will also be seeing the popular culture, as Fawaz Bhai has rightly mentioned in his in the inaugural words, where you have feature films and you have OTT platform series and advertisements and all the visual media, how they have used Islamophobia to attract audience. All the Islamophobia across the society and all the domains of the society will be subjected to a detailed study in this particular Islamophobia website. So this will be soon, I think, launched in a couple of months. The works are on. So yeah, so after that, after that particular documentation starts and it comes to you, I think you will have a detailed idea as in what is the level of incidences or the status of incidences state-wise. You will be able to understand in a more sophisticated and a more detailed way. But for the time being, you can refer DOTO database for that matter.
Thank you. We are getting a lot of questions, so we'll try to go through them quickly now. One question which has come in different forms is, are Muslims also responsible for Islamophobia or for Islamophobic incidents? I think very quickly you can recap your answers.
Yes, the question is very clear. Are Muslims also responsible for Islamophobia? I would say that, as I said earlier, Islamophobia is a political project, and you cannot, in any ways, say that Muslims have got a lot of problems, and that is the reason that the hate and discrimination against Muslims have spread in this particular in this form. So I would refute that argument. But of course, Muslims as a community need to be more responsible. This is something which we cannot ignore. If you see the incidences like the policies of the community, for instance, one specific incident which I would like to mention here is the Satanic Verses book released. It was, I think, in 1979, 78 time when the Salman Rushdie's Satanic Verses was released, and across the globe, Muslim community came out in protest. Hundreds of people got killed in this protest. This is basically overreaction towards criticism, or it's not mere criticism. It is, of course, demonization of Muslims, Islam, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course. But the way we react to it should be responsible. It cannot be irresponsible. Kind of response where you call for killing the person and you call for violence against this particular book and to get it banned. So Islamophobia certainly has got new heights at that particular point of history. That is for sure. So incidences like that, when there is overreaction from the community, of course, that is something that we are responsible for. And there are many other things where Muslims should be very careful while doing their statements and taking stands, political stands especially. Otherwise, we tend to be misunderstood. So one more very important thing is we are living in a plural society. Especially when we are living in a plural society, we need to look ourselves from outside. So what we have to do is, if you want to be, personally, if you want to be a good person, or if you want to have good personality, the first and foremost thing that we have to tell to a person is, if you want to develop your personality, just create another person outside you and make that person look at you from outside. And whatever you act, whatever you say, whatever you do will be monitored by that particular person which you have made. It is an imaginary man who is looking you from outside, and then act in a way that it pleases that person. It doesn't create any misunderstanding to that person. It doesn't create hate towards you. Every act of you only creates love towards that particular imaginary person. So in the same way, if we do our act, frame our sentences, choose words in a public platform, and even in social media, and even at private platforms, when you use words, when you articulate things, always take care that you are in a plural society. In a digital era, you are never alone. You are being heard by people from across. Even this lecture, everything is being heard by general public. So you have to frame words in a constitutional. You must use constitutional language. That is very important for the Muslim community. Using words and vocabulary which is constitutional, which is basically understandable to the people. Racism is a word which is understandable to the people. That is why we are using it as racism. So every system, every covenant, every agreement, every tools of progressive nation state is against racism and the idea of racism. So we must use constitutional language in whatever, not only in this issue, I'm saying whatever issues we deal with. And we should be very aware that everything is being watched by people who doesn't know you fully. Yes.
Yeah. There is actually a very frequent question that what can people who are NRIs and living outside India do to contribute in the fight against Islamophobia? And a related question is that does something need to be done regarding Islamophobia among Indian expats in the Gulf? So these are both related questions but different. So I am putting them both to you right now.
Okay, there are lots of work that can be done. Thank you for that question to the questionnaire. I think that is the most relevant question in this whole session. What can we do as expatriates? What can we do as citizens who are doing business and who are busy in our day-to-day life? What can we contribute in this particular movement to curb this particular racism? So I think this is a very, very complicated question, because we is not one monolithic, one group. It is a set of people who have different types of capacities and potentials. So there are people who have research capabilities. There are people who have had data analytical skills. There may be people who can write things, who can articulate things in best language possible. There are people who knows graphical visualization, who knows filmmaking. There are people who are good comedians. There may be good businessmen who can contribute by money, who can donate money from their side. So there are people from different potentials, backgrounds. So I would suggest that what you have to do is you have to just go to the Facebook page of Quill Foundation and then leave a message from your part saying that I would like to contribute my potentials for this particular anti-Islamophobia work. Just go to the Facebook and then search Quill Foundation. And inside the page, you can find a personal message, a messaging button. Use that button and then send a personal message. I will read that message, and then personally I will respond to you in that particular part. So I would request you all to just go to the page and first of all like the page. That is one important recommendation suggestion I would like to make here. Apart from that, just send a message saying that I would like to contribute and what kind of contribution would you like to make. So it can be technical, once again to be clear, it can be technical, it can be monetary, it can be by means of just even by means of mobilizing people for this. Or if you know a person who know international advocacy, for instance, if you know a person who have worked in international agencies like the World Economic Forum or UN bodies for that matter, if you know them, just connect them to us. That is a big service that you can make. That is a big donation, a big contribution that you can make for this particular cause. So whatever contribution you can make, just let us know through the Facebook page. Thank you.
There's one we'll just take, I think, 2 or maximum 3 questions now, since we're running out of time. One question is, are 1 or 2 websites and databases enough to counter Islamophobia? Or do you think we need to do something through direct media or through formation of secular TV channels and TV news channels, things like that?
Can you just repeat that again?
Do you think that couple of websites are enough to counter Islamophobia, or we need to do something through direct media or through forming our own secular television channels?
Okay. Basically, Islamophobia cannot be addressed by using just one single tool or a few number of tools. Islamophobia can be addressed only by using hundreds of thousands of tools all combined. So you need satellite channels to do this. You need websites to do this. You need social media handles to do this. You need social media networking to do this, IT cells to do this, our IT cells to do this. You need movements, which are established movements within the community. Jamiat Ulama, Jamiat Al-Hadith, Barelvi Jamaat, Jamaat Islami, all these different kinds of Muslim organizations, spectrum of Muslim organizations, Tablighi Jamaat, all these movements can do a lot in this. It should be part of their agenda. It should be in their priority list number 1 to address Islamophobia in their own ways. So we need individuals who are powerful, influential people inside their own area, maybe in their professional area, use that particular expertise to address this particular problem of Islamophobia. So addressing Islamophobia is multi-spectrum. It is not restricted to certain website or certain small work. It is a large work to do. It's a big, big work to do.
Another question, very common question many people have asked is, what will be the situation of, what do you predict as the situation of Muslims in post-COVID India?
Okay. It's a very good question. I would say that the driving force or the fuel engine of this particular regime that we have in India is hate, and hate alone. For the last 7 years, after carefully seeing the policies of the government, what we have seen is this government has nothing to offer other than creating hate and divisive politics, creating divisive politics within the community. They have done nothing good for the country till now. What they have done is only making people fight each other. सब कुछ मंदिर मस्जिद हिंदू मुस्लिम बना दिया और लोगों को आपस में झगड़वाने के लिए ही उन्होंने जो है बहुत ही उसमें वो एक्सपर्ट है। पिछले 100 इयर्स में वो लोग वही करते थे, बनने के मतलब पार्टी के बनने के बाद भी वही किया, अभी गवर्नमेंट बनने के बाद भी वो उनके पूरा वो एक्सपर्टीज को एक न्यू लेवल में लेके पहुंचा दिया है। और मैंने जैसा कि बताया आपको जो है जो फॉरेन पॉलिसी मैगजीन में बताया कि वी आर नाउ एक्सपोर्टिंग हेट, मतलब हमारे पास एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए और कुछ है नहीं चीज, अभी हम लोग हेट एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं क्योंकि ये यहाँ पर बहुत है मौजूद, इन्होंने बहुत उसको कल्टीवेट कर दिया। तो इसके बारे में मैं यही बोलना चाहूंगा, हेट इज डिस्टाइन्ड टू पेरिश। हेट जो है वो कभी भी सक्सेसफुल नहीं रहेगा। एक जगह पर अगर हेट है तो वो समाज खत्म हो जाएगा, वो समाज जो है इट्स डिस्टाइन्ड टू पेरिश, वो तबाह हो जाएगा। तबाह होने के लिए हेट है। आप देखिए जो है वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 और वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 नेशनलिज्म के आधार पर आपस में हेट था, वो हेट में पूरा दुनिया खत्म हो, मतलब दुनिया में इकोनॉमिक जो है क्राइसिस आ गया। आपको मालूम है द ग्रेट इकोनॉमिक डिप्रेशन, फाइनेंशियल डिप्रेशन जो हुआ था यूरोप में और पूरा दुनिया में। उसी तरीके से 2001 9/11 अटैक के बाद एंटी मुस्लिम हेट को फैला दिया जो है नियो कंजर्वेटिव्स के तरफ से, रिपब्लिकन पार्टी की तरफ से, जॉर्ज बुश सेकंड के वजह तरफ से, पॉल वुल्फोविट्स और ये जो है कॉन्डलिसा राइस और ये पूरा जो नियो कंजर्वेटिव ग्रुप्स है जो है डोनाल्ड रम्सफेल्ड, ये सब लोग मिलकर के पूरा दुनिया में ऐसा हेट फैला दिया कि देखिए मुस्लिम ममालिकों को एक के बाद तबाह कर दो। लेकिन आप देखेंगे उसके फौरन बाद जो है पूरा दुनिया नीचे की तरफ आ गया। वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के बाद जो ग्रेट इकोनॉमिक डिप्रेशन था उसी हालात में जो है दुनिया चला गया। और 2007-2011 में जो आपने देखा दुनिया में जो है सब प्राइम क्राइसिस, जो दुनिया में सबसे बड़ा जो है फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस आ गया। 2014 में जब इंडिया के अंदर बीजेपी पावर में आ गए, आप देखते हैं कि पूरा जो है हेट भर रहा है यहाँ पर, पूरा तरीके से जो है लोगों के अंदर हेट मॉन्गरिंग शुरू हो गया और समाज के अंदर हेट के अलावा कुछ है ही नहीं। तो ये समाज प्रॉस्पेरिटी की तरफ नहीं गया, बिल्कुल ये समाज जो है नीचे की तरफ, ये मुल्क जो है फाइनेंशियल डिप्रेशन की तरफ, इकोनॉमिक स्लोडाउन की तरफ चले गए। आपको मालूम है इंडिया के अंदर बड़े बड़े कंपनीज तबाह हो गए थे कोरोना वायरस आने के पहले ही, और जो है बैंक्स कोलैप्स हो चुके थे। और ये जो है उस वक्त के फोरकास्ट था कि आने वाले 2-3 महीने शायद इंडिया सबसे बड़ा हिस्टोरिक इकोनॉमिक और फाइनेंशियल लो में चला जाएगा। लेकिन उसके बाद कोरोना वायरस आ गया और अभी जो है ये लोग हर चीज का जिम्मेदारी वो वायरस के, वो मासूम वायरस के ऊपर डाल दिया। देखिए यही है एक कारण जो इंडिया के फाइनेंशियल डिप्रेशन का असल वजह है, ये बोल के उनके सर के अंदर थोप दिया। हालांकि इंडिया जो है ये हेट के वजह से नीचे जा रहा था। कुरान में एक जबरदस्त आयत है जो हमारे लिए जो है बहुत एनलाइटनिंग है। उसमें इब्राहिम अलैहिस्सलाम का दुआ है। इब्राहिम अलैहिस्सलाम दुआ करते हैं, रब्बि जअल हादा बलदन आमिना वरजुक अहलहु मिनस समरात। ये बहुत ही मीनिंगफुल दुआ है। इसमें बताते हैं कि रब्बि जअल हादा बलदन आमिना, ये बलद को बलदन आमिना, एक फियरलेस एक जो है मुल्क या एक समाज बना दे या अल्लाह। पहले बोलते हैं कि फियरलेस जो है अमन का गहवारा बना दो, ये पहला दुआ है। उसके बाद वरजुक अहलहु मिनस समरात, उसके बाद हमें प्रॉस्पेरिटी दो। तो प्रॉस्पेरिटी का एक प्री कंडीशन है यहाँ पर पीसफुल होना। पीसफुल होगा समाज, पीसफुल होगा तो प्रॉस्पेरिटी होगा, पीसफुल नहीं होगा तो प्रॉस्पेरिटी नहीं होगा। वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 के इकोनॉमिक डिप्रेशन मैंने बताया, जो है 2001 के जो है वर्ल्ड जो है ग्लोबल वॉर ऑन टेरर का जो है हिस्ट्री आप देखिएगा, 2007-11 का डिप्रेशन, अभी 2014 के बाद इंडिया के अंदर जो चल रहा है हेट जो है तबाही के तरफ ही लोगों को लेके जाएगा। तो आज मैं समझता हूँ कि अगर ये वायरस जाने के बाद मैं समझता हूँ कि ये जो रजीम है, ये जो सरकार है, उनके पास कुछ है नहीं, सिर्फ हेट ही उनके पास। हम ये नहीं समझते हैं कि ये वायरस जाने के बाद ये मुल्क सब ठीक ठाक हो जाएगा। उनके जो डिवाइसिव एजेंडा है वो अच्छा तरीके से उसको शार्पन कर रहा है, अपने चाकू को वो शार्पन कर रहा है। ये स्लो डाउन के वक्त भी जो है अभी भी वही कर रहा है, सुधरने का कोई नाम नहीं ले रहा है। तो हम सोचते हैं कि पूरा जो अच्छे लोग, चाहे जो भी धर्म के लोग, चाहे वो जो भी विचारधारा के लोग हैं, सब लोग, अच्छाई में विश्वास करने वाला तमाम लोग, जो मुल्क के अंदर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के अंदर जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल वैल्यूज है, इक्वालिटी, लिबर्टी, फ्रेटर्निटी, जस्टिस, सेक्युलरिज्म, डेमोक्रेसी वगैरह में जो विश्वास करते हैं, वो तमाम लोग एक साथ इकट्ठा हो जाए यही टाइम में, और जो है अनलॉक करने के बाद पूरा समाज इकट्ठा होके एक अच्छा मुल्क बनाने की कोशिश में सब लोग एक साथ आगे बढ़े, यही उम्मीद कर सकते हैं हम लोग, और क्या कर सकते हैं।
We are really, I think we have आखिरी 2 क्वेश्चन हम जल्दी खत्म करने की कोशिश करते हैं. One question is, there are many questions related to solutions for Islamophobia. I think we have discussed them in different ways. One aspect which has come out is, what is the role of legal action in countering Islamophobic acts, and how much legal action and legal methods in countering Islamophobia.
ओके, बेसिकली इस्लामोफोबिया को एड्रेस करने के लिए फेज 1 और फेज 2 में आपके सामने बताऊंगा. नंबर 1 है बेसिकली, आप जो है अगर इस्लामोफोबिया को आपको एड्रेस करना है, मैंने बताया ट्रैक एंड रिकॉर्ड ऑल इस्लामोफोबिक हेट वायलेंस, ये हमारा जो है पहला जिम्मेदारी है. नंबर 2 है जो है एक थियोरेटिकल फ्रेमवर्क बनाना इस्लामोफोबिया के ऊपर, एक नॉलेज प्रोडक्शन, उसके ऊपर एक एकेडमिक फ्रेमवर्क बनाने का कोशिश करना. ये नंबर 2 हमारा जो है फेज 1 के अंदर सेकंड काम है. फेज 1 के ही अंदर तीसरा काम ये है कि ऑडिट गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज, पूरा गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज को आप जो है ऑडिट करें, उसको जो है मुसलमान को खास तौर पर और माइनॉरिटीज को इम्पैक्ट करने वाला जो है जो स्ट्रक्चरल इस्लामोफोबिया को जो है आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए कोशिश करना. उसके अलावा चौथा ये है कि हेट्रेड्स का जो मेन परवेयर्स है उसको हम जो है समझने का कोशिश करना. हेट मॉन्गर्स या जो है हेट स्पीकर्स या जो है हेट प्रोपगेटर्स, उनको समझने का कोशिश, हेट ग्रुप्स को आइडेंटिफाई करने का कोशिश करना, उसके ऊपर एडवोकेसी एफर्ट्स का फॉर्मुलेट करना. पांचवा ये है कि फ्यूलिंग फैक्टर्स विद इन मुस्लिम्स. मैंने जो है इसके पहले जो बताया था, हम लोग एक सवाल के जवाब में ये बताया था कि जो है व्हाट आर द आइडेंटिफाई द फ्यूलिंग फैक्टर्स ऑफ इस्लामोफोबिया फ्रॉम विद इन द कम्युनिटी एंड फॉर्मुलेट अ रिस्पांस. ये जो है पांचवा चीज है. और छठा ये है कि सिक्स्थ पॉइंट ये है कि डिबंकिंग द इस्लामिक टेरर केसेस इन इंडिया. ये तमाम चीज को जो है तफसील से पढ़ना और एक पूरा एक जो है एक नॉलेज प्रोडक्शन करना इसके ऊपर, ये पहला फेज है. नंबर 2 फेज ये है कि एक सस्टेनेबल एंड स्ट्रेटेजिक रिस्पांस टू इस्लामोफोबिया बनाने का पूरा स्ट्रैटेजी बनाना. उसके अलावा कोलिशंस बनाना. पूरा दुनिया का मसला है, सिर्फ इंडिया में नहीं है. तो पूरा दुनिया में जहां पर भी इसमें काम करने वाला जो एकेडमिशियंस है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस है, सिविल सोसाइटी है, मूवमेंट्स है, तमाम लोगों को नेटवर्क करके कॉमन प्रॉब्लम्स को कॉमन सोल्यूशन बनाने का कोशिश करना. तीसरा यह है कि लार्ज स्केल मीडिया एडवोकेसी प्लान्स बनाना दुनिया भर का और इंडिया में भी. चौथा यह है कि पार्लियामेंट्री मूवमेंट इंटरनेशनल एडवोकेसी करना. और पांचवा यह है कि स्ट्रेटेजिक लिटिगेशन, जो सवाल में ये पूछा गया था, लीगल क्या कर सकते हैं. स्ट्रेटेजिक लिटिगेशन एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. मैं बोलना चाहूंगा कि आज अगर हम लीगली हम उसको जो है देखना चाहें तो ये वायलेंस को एड्रेस करने वाला लीगल मेजर्स ऑलरेडी हमारे जो है लीगल फ्रेमवर्क्स के अंदर मौजूद है. आपको मालूम है 153A एक ऐसा चीज है सिर्फ जो मुसलमान के ऊपर डालते हैं. मतलब बेसिकली एक ऐसा प्रोविजन है जो है कम्युनिटीज के बीच में नफरत फैलाना और आपस में लड़वाने का जो काम है, जो सरकार अभी कर रहा है ऑन अ मैसिव स्केल, जो है उसको एक इंडस्ट्रियल स्केल में कर रहा है 153A, वो जो है पनिशेबल ऑफेंस के तौर पर एक्नॉलेज नहीं किया गया. तो हम जो है इनैक्ट कराने में, इन लोगों को एक्ट कराने में मजबूर करने के लिए जरूर जो है स्ट्रेटेजिक लिटिगेशन, कोर्ट में जाना, ये हमारा एक कल्चर का हिस्सा बनना चाहिए. एक आदमी हमारा जो है जगह पर आके स्पीच कर दिया इस्लामोफोबिक, तो उसके ऊपर फौरन केस दर्ज करवाना, FIR जो है दर्ज करवाना और उसके ऊपर केस लड़ना, ये हमारा एक जिम्मेदारी है, बेसिक जिम्मेदारी, ताकि हमारा सिस्टम के अंदर जो चेक एंड बैलेंस है, जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल जो इंस्टीट्यूशंस है, उसको इस्तेमाल करके हम उसको कर्ब करने का कोशिश हम करें। तो जरूर लीगैलिटीज और जो है हमारे कोर्ट्स को इस्तेमाल करने का जरूरत है। इसको तफसीलात हम फिर जो है हम इसके ऊपर पर्सनली हम बात कर सकते हैं। जरूर जो है मैं आपको आखिरी सवाल था शायद फवाज भाई।
लास्ट सवाल एक्चुअली सब लोग 2-3 जगह से आया है। इफ यू कैन टेल अ लिटिल मोर अबाउट क्विल फाउंडेशन एंड द वर्क दैट यू आर डूइंग। फाइनल क्वेश्चन।
Okay, thank you. Quill Foundation is basically a policy research and advocacy center. Basically मुस्लिम जो है दलित, आदिवासी और यहाँ के क्रिश्चियन जो मार्जिनलाइज सेक्शंस है, जो वीकर सेक्शंस विद इन द इंडियन कम्युनिटी, इंडियन सोसाइटी है, उनके प्रॉब्लम्स को खास तौर पर, क्योंकि वो लोग ऑलरेडी वीकर है, उनके प्रॉब्लम्स को खास तौर पर मुस्लिम्स के जो है इश्यूज पर फोकस करने वाला पहला इंडिया के अंदर जो है पॉलिसी रिसर्च एडवोकेसी सेंटर आप बोल सकते हो, द फर्स्ट ऑफ इट्स काइंड जो है थिंक टैंक है क्विल फाउंडेशन। एक ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशन है जो नॉर्मली हम लोग आम तौर पर हम लोग डिस्कस या सुनते नहीं है, डिस्कस करते नहीं है। जैसा कि पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज है, जैसा कि एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस है, जैसा कि ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस है, वैसा ही एक दूसरा कैटेगरी ऑफ वर्क है जो पब्लिक पॉलिसी रिसर्च थिंक टैंक है, जो ये तमाम लोगों से ज्यादा इन्फ्लुएंशियल होते हैं। मिसाल के तौर पर दुनिया के सबसे इन्फ्लुएंशियल थिंक टैंक है ब्रूकिंग्स इंस्टीट्यूट। अमेरिका के फॉरेन पॉलिसी, अमेरिका के डोमेस्टिक पॉलिसीज बनाने में ब्रूकिंग्स इंस्टीट्यूट जो प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूट है, उनका अपना पॉलिटिक्स है, अपना जो है पूरा इंटरेस्ट है, वो लेके वो जो एडवोकेसी का काम करते हैं, सब्जेक्ट एक्सपर्ट्स को लेके पूरा नैरेटिव सेट करते हैं, पूरा एक जो है मैसेजिंग करते हैं पूरा मुल्क भर, दुनिया भर, तो उससे एक खास क्लाइमेट बनाते हैं ताकि एक खास डायरेक्शन के तरफ पॉलिसी को शिफ्ट करने के लिए वो मददगार हो। तो उस तरीके का एक जो है एक एक्सपर्ट लोगों का एक मजमा बना के जो है रिसर्च, डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, रिसर्च एंड एडवोकेसी करते हुए जो है पॉलिसी शिफ्ट करने का कोशिश करने का काम है बेसिकली जो थिंक टैंक्स करते हैं। तो क्विल फाउंडेशन उस तर्ज में काम करने वाला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है। बेसिकली एकेडमिक रिसर्च करते हैं जो 2015 में कायम किया था। खास तौर पर जो इस्लामोफोबिया के जो इश्यूज है उसके ऊपर तफसील से इनका काम है, क्विल का काम है। हेट वायलेंस के ऊपर स्पेशल सिक्योरिटी लेजिस्लेशन, जो इंडिया के अंदर जो टेररिज्म वाला जो मामला है उसके ऊपर तफसील से पढ़ाई, उसके ऊपर रिसर्च किया है, अभी येट टू बी रिलीज्ड है। उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा जो है उसमें मतलब अगर आप पर्सनली, मैं आपको एक पूरा एनुअल रिपोर्ट भेज सकता हूँ जो काम का एक मतलब बड़ा स्पेक्ट्रम है जो रिसर्च और एडवोकेसी के इसमें काम किया था। तो बेसिकली काम है एडवोकेसी, डॉक्यूमेंटेशन नंबर 1, एडवोकेसी, और तीसरा है जो है नंबर 1 है डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, नंबर 2 है रिसर्च, और नंबर 3 है एडवोकेसी। एडवोकेसी के अंदर 5 अलग अलग किस्म का एडवोकेसी है। नंबर 1 है इंटरनेशनल एडवोकेसी, जो इंटरनेशनल कॉवेनेंट्स, ट्रीटीज, एग्रीमेंट्स जो हम वायलेट करते हैं, इंडियन गवर्नमेंट या पॉलिसीज जब वायलेट करते हैं उसके ऊपर रिसर्च करना, उसके ऊपर एडवोकेसी करना। नंबर 2 है जो है पार्लियामेंट्री एडवोकेसी, पार्लियामेंट के अंदर डिबेट छेड़ना, जो है कोई इश्यू के ऊपर जब यस कैंप और नो कैंप जब पार्लियामेंट के अंदर मौजूद है, मिसाल के तौर पर एनआरसी, सीएए इश्यू है, या जो है लिंचिंग का मामला है, या जो भी मामला है जो बर्निंग इश्यूज है, उसके ऊपर पार्लियामेंट के अंदर डिबेट कराने के लिए कोशिश करना। जो यस कैंप हमारा अगर कैंप है, हम जो सपोर्ट करने वाला टीम है, तो उनको हम जो है क्वेश्चंस प्रोवाइड करना, उनको फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स देना, उनको स्ट्रेंथन करना, डिबेट में उनको बैक सपोर्ट देना, ये तमाम चीज पार्लियामेंट्री एडवोकेसी में आते हैं। उसके अलावा मीडिया एडवोकेसी है, मीडिया के अंदर जो नैरेटिव है एनआरसी के बारे में खूब जो है गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसी नैरेटिव आ जाएगा, लेकिन ये नैरेटिव जो इस वाला मुसलमान जो चीज बोलते हैं वो मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया तक पहुंचाने का कोशिश मीडिया एडवोकेसी की तरफ से होगा। लोगों को लिखवाते हैं, उनको फेलोशिप देना, लिखने वाले लोगों को फेलोशिप देना, उनको जो है सपोर्ट करना, फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स देना, ये तमाम काम मीडिया एडवोकेसी में आते हैं। और फिर है मूवमेंटल एडवोकेसी, जो चौथा काम है, जो मूवमेंट्स, एस्टैब्लिश्ड मूवमेंट्स है, उन लोगों को चीजों को समझाना और उनको पढ़वाना, और उनके पॉलिसीज और उनके बातचीत, उनके वोकैबुलरी और उनके आर्ग्यूमेंट्स को इस तरीके से फ्रेम करने के लिए कोशिश करना ताकि ये जो कॉज है वो कॉज के लिए पूरा कम्युनिटी के जो है डायरेक्शन एक हो, उनके बोलने का अंदाज एक हो। और पांचवा ये है कि स्ट्रेटेजिक लिटिगेशन, जो कोर्ट इस्तेमाल करके एक ऐसा केस डालना मिसाल के तौर पर एक इश्यू में जो डोमिनोस इफेक्ट होगा, जो बहुत सारे दिगर केसेस को और गवर्नमेंट पॉलिसीज को इफेक्ट करेगा। मतलब वो स्ट्रेटेजिक लिटिगेशन का जो है इसमें काम करना, ये पांचवा चीज है। तो इस तर्ज में क्विल काम करते हैं। बहुत ज्यादा बोलने का है लेकिन अभी इसका टाइम नहीं है। मैं आपसे बोलना चाहूंगा, आप में से जो भी क्विल फाउंडेशन के काम में ताउन करना चाहते हैं, जरूर जो है आपको वेलकम। आप क्विल फाउंडेशन के फेसबुक पेज में आके, जैसा कि मैंने बताया था, आप मैसेज भेजिएगा। इंशाल्लाह हम मैं पर्सनली ही आपको जो है उसमें जवाब देंगे, कोई प्रॉब्लम जो है बातचीत करेंगे। और जो है इंशाल्लाह ये प्रोग्राम के बाद भी हमारा रिलेशनशिप जारी रहेगा। शुक्रिया।
इंशाल्लाह। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया ब्रदर सुहेल के फॉर टेकिंग आउट योर टाइम एंड बीइंग विद अस। और मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ हीरा मीडिया का, मैंगलोर के पूरे टीम का, एंड एवरीबडी एल्स हु जॉइंड अस फ्रॉम आई थिंक ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड। मुझे देख के लग रहा है कि पूरी दुनिया से लोगों ने हमें ज्वाइन किया इस डिस्कशन के लिए। सो थैंक यू ऑल फॉर टेकिंग आउट योर टाइम। कई लोगों के लिए शायद आज वीकेंड रहा होगा, तो वीकेंड में इस तरह की डिबेट वगैरह करने पे बैठना, एक गुफ्तगू करना, आप हम लोग इसके शुक्रगुजार हैं। और आखिर में बस खत्म करते हुए इतना हम लोग याद रखें कि आजकल नॉर्मल से कहीं ज्यादा इंसान हमेशा एंजाइटी में रहता है, घबराया हुआ रहता है अपने कल के बारे में, खास करके आज का इंसान। लेकिन ये कोरोना के संकट के वक्त में लोग नॉर्मल से कहीं ज्यादा घबराए हुए हैं अबाउट व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हैपन टुमारो। और घबराए हुए दिलों में डर बिठाना बहुत आसान होता है। What you are seeing right now, this whole outburst of Islamophobia in India is just anxious hearts being filled with bigotry. And हमेशा जब इस पे काम करते हुए और इस पे बात करते हुए याद रखिए, इस्लामोफोबिया के विक्टिम सिर्फ मुसलमान नहीं है, बल्कि जो लोग, जिन लोगों के दिलों को बिगट्री, हेट्रेड और इस्लामोफोबिक सेंटिमेंट से भरा जा रहा है, वो सब भी इस इस्लामोफोबिया के विक्टिम्स हैं। क्योंकि असल में उनको जो सवाल करने चाहिए अपने रूलर्स से, पावर्स से, पावरफुल लोगों से, उसके बजाय उन्हें ये उनके बीच दिलों में ये हेट फैलाया जा रहा है। तो इसके ऊपर काम करते हुए वी हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल कि हम कहाँ पे एनिमी को आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं और कहाँ पे विक्टिम को आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं। एंड कीपिंग दैट पर्सपेक्टिव इन माइंड, we really appreciate the wonderful discussion led by Brother Suhail KK and the work that is being done by various people, by various alliances to counter Islamophobia in India. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you Hira Media for organizing this. Hopefully we'll continue such conversations from time to time. I would love to be part of many more such conversations. Thank
Can
you.
I say
and,
something, please?
Yes. I think our host, Brother Mubin, I will just hand over to you now. My job is done, and I'm sure, yes, you can say something. Thank you, everyone, from my side.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, thank
please?
you, Brother Fawaz Bhai. No, question session is already finished. Now we are going to wind up the program.
Only one small comment from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
Fawaz Bhai?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
take the comment, but we'll have to end it because everybody.
Okay, fine. Sorry, I joined late actually.
No, that's fine.
I'm extremely sorry for that because I just got the connection. It's a very good initiative, but this injustice is basically not for only Muslims, but Muslim is the scapegoat. The main target is the OBC and SC, ST people, which forms 74.5% population of India, and they are the people who are made to use by giving little money to fight with Muslims, and they get killed and Muslims get killed, and the people who are doing it, they are safe in their own house. They don't care what's happening, who is dying, We are working with Vaman Mishram of Dalit leader. We joined recently Sajjad Nomani Saab initiative, and the NRI community of 10,000 people are supporting them from Saudi Arabia. We have 3 million Indians in Saudi Arabia, around 3 lakhs Indians. I run an organization called TIES, TIES, the Indian Entrepreneur Society. Through that, we are connecting with these people And now the next elections will be fought by this cooperation of Sajjad Numani Saab and the Dalit community together. And we are aiming to capture power in India. Inshallah, Prime Minister will be from our this. And also ministers will be, 40% ministers will be Muslims if we won the election. Our main demand is to have election by ballot.
Okay. Yeah.
And secondly, NRC, CA, we agree with that only on DNA basis. If they carry out the DNA
Okay, let
test,
this. I think ये आपने एक साथ बहुत सारे issues ले आए. I think specifically with regard to CA NRC, it is I think topic for another very long discussion जो हमको करना चाहिए. तो इंशाल्लाह हाँ.
I would definitely get in touch with your organization.
Wonderful.
You can send me my page, the ties, the Indian Entrepreneur Society, or you can see me on Facebook, Mehman Abdul Qadir Seth, and we can get connected. You can send me the details. I am putting my email in. I am putting my email in the comment. Please send me your organization name. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Shukriya. And thank you everyone else. Thank you for that comment, Seth Saab. और now over to Mubin bhai. मेरी तरफ से शुक्रिया. जज़ाकल्लाह. आखिर दावान अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. First of all, I would like to praise and thank Allah. With His blessings and grace, we have made this webinar a great success. And also, I would like to thank our chief guest and resource person, Brother Suhail KK, and also the moderator, Brother Fawaz. Okay, and also all the participants from various organizations and various parts of the world. I once again thank everyone for making this webinar successful. Thank you one and all. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah.